We are back on our weekly chat with Jason Mackey, now on the Pirates YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about the front office. How long do these guys have left to turn things around? Ben Cherington, the general manager, Travis Williams, the president, with all the off-field snafus, but then I think most immediately, Jason, Derek Shelton in the dugout. If things don't get better soon, how long can they hold on to their jobs? We're also going to talk about what's going on the field. The offense struggling, last in baseball in batting average as a team. Oneil Cruz, are there some encouraging signs, even though the numbers aren't quite there yet? Talk a little bit about how long Jack Suwinski has left if things don't turn around, and then maybe get into a little rotation talk, specifically the back end with Carmen, Mlodzinski, and Bailey Falter. Before we do, just want to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Greenwalt Roofing. Hey, Pittsburgh, when you think of great roofs, you think about Greenwalt Roofing Company. With over 20 years of experience, Greenwalt knows your roof is your home's first line of defense from rain, wind, snow, and ice. That's why Greenwalt Roofing's standard for perfection is so important. You can trust that their team of experienced installers will treat your property like it's their own. When it comes to roof replacements, Greenwalt Roofing is Pittsburgh's only choice. Visit greenwaltroofing.com today or call 412-314-8882 to schedule your free estimate. PA contractor number 36262. Okay, Jason, let's get into it. There's been a lot of talk on social media about Derek Shelton. I think specifically is maybe the first domino to fall if this front office is going to fall. The last time around with Clint Hurdle in 2019, they gave him till the end of the season, and there was a cleaning out of the house in September. Does Derek Shelton get that long this time around if this continues in their at a 333 winning percentage as they are today when we record this?
No, no, and no. I don't know why they didn't make a move after last season, Adam. But now that you bring them back, I guess you think that something's going to change. Right now, where they sit, I mean, I'd give them the homestand. And if that's it, I have seen enough. What are you expecting to change? They're not playing better fundamental baseball. We can look at Bob Nutting's comments at the beginning of the season, and we did. He said he thinks that he's provided the resources, and people are going to dispute that, and I certainly understand why. That's not my point. Don't get hung up on that. Where it comes down to execution. Focus on that part. What have they executed? They're not playing fundamentally better baseball. They're not playing better baseball, period. They're not hitting the ball. They're not doing much of anything. I don't know why you're going to continue to ride this out. I tweeted out a stat yesterday. I looked this up. It blew my mind that the Pirates have been 6 games over 500 for all of 20 days since 2020, the entirety of this regime's tenure. And we're all of a sudden going to think that they're going to dig out of this seismic hole to go do something? Like they need to win. They need to go over 500 this year to show actual progress. Year 6 of this regime. So if you start there and work backwards, how in the heck do we think they're going to get there if they just keep digging and keep digging and keep digging? And look at what is happening. Nobody's going to games. Those that are chanting to sell the team, and they're furious, and they have every right to be. I just don't understand why you would. It's such an easy move. If it were me, I'm not saying this out of stuff that's been going in my ear. This is just, my own feelings around it. You get the homestand. If nothing changes, we're going to go out to California. You're not on that plane. You're going to figure out another direction, whether that's Don Kelly, whether that's another manager, whatever. You go out to California, you go get right, because this is not working. And whether you want to lump Cherington in with that, Travis Williams, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't argue with anybody feeling that way. If you also wanted to say, I'm going to change one piece and see if it changes more, I guess I would understand that as well.
What level of responsibility do you assign to Derek Shelton for what's gone on here? Because I've seen a lot of discourse on social media saying, Derek Shelton's probably going to be the first to go of this group, but a lot of people are more upset with the front office, more upset with ownership, and certainly more upset with Travis Williams, given the debacle with the Bucco Bricks, which we got into last week, and the Roberto Clemente situation. Here's how I look at it, Jason. I was told that development was going to be the key piece of this regime, and that was how the Pirates were going to compete and turn things around, and that was the center of everything. I haven't seen any major league development under Derek Shelton, and I blame him for that. Like, once these guys get to the major leagues, as a coaching staff, you've got to be able to get more out of them than maybe their talent level presents to be a good manager and to get these guys moving along. And there's not a lot of examples of guys coming up here that didn't end up stunted in one way or another. And I don't know how that doesn't fall on the coaching staff.
Well, it doesn't fall. Nobody's blameless. And I was going to be a smart aleck and say, well, what part of players' development did Derek Shelton have to do with? How did he impact how they were coached in single A, double A, and triple A, how they were used, how they were taught? Like, that's not his job.
But isn't that tone set somewhat at the organizational level? Aren't those players coached at those levels based on, what the Pirates want to see out of them at the major league level?
I mean, they are, but that's player development, and that's Cherington. And you should rip Cherington for that. I understand being upset about it. I'm not saying it's not a valid point. I don't think I blame Shelton for how players are used poorly. If he's given a lineup that has Alexander Canario and Edmanuel Valdez, like, that's not Derek Shelton's fault. I mean, signing Tommy Pham or Jack Suwinski or any of these guys that aren't producing, that's not Derek Shelton's fault. Now, why a lineup changes, why you have Andrew McCutchen in there, they have a really good game, and you get the fighting necklaces, and then you sit Andrew McCutchen the next day. That's Derek Shelton's fault. How you match up relievers, whether or not last night, for instance, you bunt with Adam Frazier, like, that's Derek Shelton's fault. Even the fundamental stuff, Adam, I think that's a huge part of where the Pirates are at. It's not all Derek Shelton's fault, but he is in charge of the on-field product, the on-field execution. And the fact that that's not cleaner, it's the same as Mike Tomlin. I mean, there are parallels there. Like, if your offense isn't good, if your defense isn't good, if you're turning the ball over, if you're not managing late game situations, like, there's obviously stuff below Tomlin, but he's ultimately accountable for it. Like, it's not Derek Shelton's job to catch a routine fly ball, but when it happens 50 times and then you're not making routine plays, somebody has to be accountable for that. So anyway, it's a long-winded way of saying I don't think players are fully developed, properly developed when they get to the major leagues. And to me, that's more of a Ben Cherington and the people he hired and the decisions that he's made in player development problem than it is Derek Shelton.
I was going to bring up Jack Suwinski in the next segment, but I think he's a good example of, I think, what I'm trying to drive at is he's a guy that you came up here and you saw it with the big league level. And there was some power there. There were some tools you should be able to work with, but they have not been able to access that in the last year and a half or whatever you want to call, since the beginning of last season. I think those are the types of players I'm asking about more than, yes, you get stuck with Valdez, with Tommy Pham, with these guys who, are Band-Aids in the best case scenario. I'm talking about these organizational guys that have talent that you had some level of expectations for that have not turned out.
Well, and I mean, Shelton is in some ways, at least indirectly, culpable for that. I mean, I think it's the hitting program and what they're doing to Jack Suwinski specifically. Like, they're not pushing him enough to stay with what makes him good. I have a feeling, maybe this is a little bit more than just my own opinion, but there's entirely too much input there. There are too many voices. And I think Jack is somebody who over the years has gotten caught up in trying to please people, trying to this guy's telling me this guy's telling me this guy's telling me this. And all of a sudden you get wrapped around the axle or twisted into a pretzel and you're not doing anything. You're thinking too much. And in spring, Jack was there. He was aggressive. He wasn't thinking as much. And then I don't know what happened when the regular season started. But anyway, I mean, Derek Shelton's responsible for instituting the hitting program. He's a former hitting coach. He's responsible for who they hire, how it looks. So blame him there all you want. But I mean, it's just the reality is, Adam, I mean, it's been all of it. Every single person, if Bob Nutting in 5 minutes wiped out Williams, Cherington, and Derek Shelton, nobody would bat an eye. They would say, okay, it's about time. Good, different direction, which is sort of mind-blowing to think year 6 of their tenure here that they've made themselves so quickly expendable.
Well, I would think some people would say 6 years isn't quick enough for some of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but so here's another question for you, Jason. Is the toll that being the Pirates manager for this period of time has taken on Derek Shelton been as obvious to you as it is to me? Because he looks to me like a man who was beaten down. I remember when he got here, he kind of had that silver fox energy about him. There was a youthful vigor, but there was also a level of experience there. Now, when I watch these games, I just see a guy who looks like he's seen some stuff and is beaten down by this and maybe just is waiting out, whenever this is going to end. And he doesn't seem to have the belief just in the body language that you would want at this point. You want to hear a manager saying, yeah, we can still turn around. We believe. I'm not seeing that from Derek Shelton right now.
No, I'm not either. I'm seeing a man that just, I don't want to say he thinks he's a dead man walking, but I mean, he's not naive to the pressure or the scrutiny or the dislike or anything like that. I think Derek Shelton's a really good person. I like Derek Shelton a lot. I've enjoyed covering him. I think he's, I don't think the Pirates should employ him right now. That's much different. But I think he's wearing this. I think he feels it. I think he came in here. This is his first managerial job. He really had a lot of energy and was excited to do this. And like, he's not stupid. He doesn't, he knows how people feel about him. He knows that people don't want him here or aren't happy with the job he's done or all that stuff. And I mean, he's also limited. How many buttons can he push? I in some ways, this is what you're saying, Adam. I have some sympathy for him because being the Pirates manager obviously isn't easy. It's not like he's got, several 300 averages and 800 OPSs in his lineup, and he's having to decide between them. Year 6 of a rebuild, the dude's batting Emmanuel Valdez cleanup, and we're blaming him. Now, I don't disagree with it because they've done so much poorly, but yeah, it's just a rough go for Shelton, man. It looks the same to me as it does to you.
Jason, we'll get out of this segment on this. What is Ben Cherington's future here? What is Travis Williams? I think my biggest question is, do they let Ben Cherington get anywhere close to the trade deadline and an attempt to try to save his job with some kind of big trade or two? Or can you look at the results and say, you want to bring another executive in here who doesn't have the sort of Damocles hanging over him to make more sober-minded decisions? I think we had a version of this conversation during spring training of, the balancing the present with the future. And can you do that if your job is as in danger as it would appear Ben Cherington should be at this point?
Yeah, I don't think you let him get near the trade deadline, Adam. Trying to think how to answer the rest of this stuff, but I guess I'll answer it by saying this. Bob Nutting's not happy. We're seeing that. The way some things are unfolding here tells me, in addition to Bob just flat out saying it, but go with me here. While we were recording this, Travis Williams actually sent out an email about the Bucko Bricks addressing this, which I found interesting because Bob Nutting actually sent the first couple emails addressing the Bucko Bricks situation and how mortified he was by the entire thing. He started emailing people back who expressed opinions on the news or in newspapers or whatever about their frustration. I can't imagine that Bob wanted to be the first voice out on this. That's why he brought Travis Williams here, to make things better with fans. So the fact that Bob's having to do this and then Bob's getting ripped as much as he is, which, I'm not defending it. I'm just saying that, if you're him, you hire somebody to shield you from this stuff, to make you look better, to improve the organization, how they're thought of by fans. And then these people that you've given a lot of time to, they make you actually look worse as an owner. They make you look cheaper, and you've extended money. Again, if you're Bob Nutting, you're going to think about, well, I've extended Key Bryant, I've extended Brian, I've extended Mitch. I've done things that I've never done before. And all of a sudden there are people more mad at me than ever. Why? So I say all that to say you can't, I don't envision him having a lot of patience with this. I just don't. I don't know why Bob would. Their salaries are paid for this season, but you need to get this franchise in a place where all of the attention right now, again, if you're Bob, you're thinking about this. I don't want people questioning whether I care. I don't want people chanting, sell the team or having all this focus on me. He needs to do something that shows his displeasure with this team and the trajectory of it, and kind of turn it down a few notches. It's never going to go away, and he knows that. But the passivity here, I don't understand it.
Well, I had the same thing written down, Jason. I think it was specifically the email he sent to Joe Rutter, our colleague at the Trib, whose father had bought a Bucko Brick. He wrote an emotional column about it, and Bob responded to that directly. the way he responded, the words he used, I said that's not good for Travis Williams. And it does not seem like he is passive about the situation to me. And I would be surprised if this continues, if there aren't, changes. And maybe the West Coast trip is a good time to do it, as you mentioned at the top of this segment. Jason, we're going to get into some on-field topics here. Before we do, just want to thank a couple more sponsors. April is Stress Awareness Month, and studies show that doing even one group exercise class a week can significantly reduce stress. So there's no better time to move your body and reset your mind at UFC Gym. However you blow off steam, they've got it. They've got boxing, kickboxing, Zumba, MMA, HIIT, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, muscle makeover, spin, yoga, cardio core, barre, youth classes, and silver sneakers. Ready to feel stronger inside and out? Drop in this week at UFC Gym in Market Square or the Waterfront and try a class for free. We also want to thank our friends down in Bradenton, Florida.
Embrace the laid-back charm of island life while sinking your toes in the sand and discovering real, authentic Florida in the Bradenton area. Unspoiled beauty and pristine beaches, a vibrant waterfront downtown energized by local arts and culture, fresh Floridian cuisine with a flourish of rich history, and friendly locals ready to welcome you to this preserved paradise on Florida's Gulf Coast. Plan your visit today at Bradenton.
We are back on the weekly chat with Jason Mackey talking Pirates offense. Jason, the headline this week was they were at one point, I don't know if they still are, but last in Major League Baseball in team batting average, down in like the 180 territory. I think
not good.
Not good. I think you and I both have reasonable hope that they're not going to hit that way for the whole season, that there's got to be some positive regression to the mean here. But is it going to be enough to offset the place that they're starting from, those profound struggles? Can they get enough better to make this season competitive, or do you look across this lineup and not see enough good things to believe that yet?
So I'm going to say something that's a bit contradictory to what I was saying in our last segment. Yes, I do. I think their offense can improve enough for them to be competitive. It is nowhere near actually this bad. You have a lot of guys really scuffling right now. I think they made a key move the other night, moving Oneil Cruz to the top of the lineup. That's something you and I talked about back to spring. I couldn't believe that they didn't put him there. He likes hitting leadoff. He's very good at it. Or at least, he adds a different element, I should say, than a typical leadoff hitter. But I don't think they're going to be this bad. I think there's going to be enough there. I said this in spring, and, I know that I take a certain amount of crap for it, and I'm going to take crap for it now. I don't care because it's my honest opinion. You have guys who still can add enough to this and can perform enough. Tommy Pham is not this bad. Jack Suwinski is not this bad. Brian Hayes is actually moving around and has been tremendously unlucky. If you look at some of the under the hood numbers, Andrew McCutchen has still been very good. There's a lot more there with Bryan Reynolds. They haven't scratched the surface. Joey Bart's on the IL. So anyway, I actually think this offense, it can be good enough. Now, the question I have with the Pirates, and I think this is sort of the $1 million question with them, can you have the offense, quote unquote, good enough while also getting elite starting pitching? Can you clean up the fundamental issues? And can your bullpen protect the leads that you do have? I don't know if that can happen. That's a lot to ask out of an organization or a team this year that has not shown us much reason to have that faith. Certainly an organization that has not shown much reason for a long time to have that faith. But do I think the offense can be better than where it's at? And do I think it's capable of doing that? Yes, I do.
Yeah, I certainly think it's not this bad either, but I look around and I see a lot of like best case scenario, 600 OPS guys like Tommy Pham. No, he's not this bad, but if he's a 620, 630, 650 OPS guy, is that making enough of a difference? If you get Jack Suwinski to that point, that'd be certainly a boost from where you are, but is it enough? I think I'm more skeptical than you are that if those guys get back close to that level, that it's going to be enough for the Pirates to overcome the fact that they don't have big boppers. And I think that leads into my next question about Oneil Cruz. I phrased it last week with Brian Hayes. Are you more encouraged or discouraged? Oneil Cruz is very interesting to me, Jason, because he comes up to the big leagues, and you talk a ton about the strikeouts. And part of that too was not going to take enough walks to matter. I believe he leads the team in walks as we're recording this. He's not striking out any more than anyone else on this team is, but he still has that sub 700 OPS. Is not generating the power a lot of people hope to see from him. When you take those developments, do you say, well, the approach is getting better, and the power and the getting on base is going to come in time? Or are you just worried that maybe he doesn't have the upside that a lot of people hoped he did?
Well, if we're going to answer it in the same spirit as I did with Key last week, where I said I was more encouraged, I'd say discouraged by Cruz. I'll go the opposite direction. Because the total package, like if you add up the defense, which is obviously a huge negative, I mean, he stinks in center field, and I don't know what you do positionally, because I wouldn't put him back at shortstop either. If you put him at first, you're wasting his arm and his athleticism. Like I don't know, and you can't DH him right now theoretically because of Kutch and Reynolds. So I don't know what you do. But if the offense was really good, if he was an 800 plus OPS guy, he's hitting for a bunch of power or whatever, I could live with the defense. I'd be fine with it. But we're looking at a 200 average, an OPS, you said it, of 693. Yeah, the strikeouts have gone down a little bit. So has the power. I'm not interested in a guy like Oneil Cruz walking more. I'm just not. Like, you are one of the only sources of power in this lineup. I'll live with some swing and miss, but I want the power. I want you to, I want 30 homers out of you. I want 30 steals too. That's at the top of the order. How you're going to get there is a little bit of a funky way. I do appreciate some better swing decisions, but I don't like the loss of power. I really dislike the defense. So if we're going to add all of those factors into an encouraged or discouraged, I'd probably say discouraged for Cruz.
How far, we talked about him a little bit earlier in their show, but how far from midnight are we with Jack Suwinski? How long do you think he's going to get before he is, in DFA territory and this organization will leave?
I wouldn't DFA him. Why? Okay. I mean, why? He has options. I would just send him. I wouldn't keep him on the roster, but you can send him down. Unless I'm mistaken, but I'm almost positive he still has options.
I think the question is more, is he a change of scenery type of guy at this point? You've sent him down how many times? You've done that. You haven't been able to find the answers there. Is it just a point where, they got to with some of those guys late in the last regime where they said, maybe these guys will be good someday, but we're not going to be able to access it. And they ended, I think Glasnow is probably the best example.
Yeah, I mean, I hope not. I hope they don't get to that point where they say, in this group, for as long as they hold out with some guys, they have a quick hook on others. And I don't totally understand that. With Jack, I would just send him down. He needs regular playing time. I don't know what they think he's doing or what he's going to accomplish when you're playing him every third day. He hasn't been good at the plate. He has a lot of stuff to fix. In a player his age and what he's going through, you just need to get in the lineup. You need to play. And I don't care who that is giving an opportunity to. If that's Matt Gorski, if that's Nick York, you figure it out positionally. That just doesn't make any sense to me, what they're doing with him. If you care about the kid's future, you get him in the minor leagues and get him playing, get him figured out, because he's going through it. And I mean, as recently as spring training, Adam, we saw with Jack Suwinski what he can be if he's aggressive. I honestly, I wish I could sit in a room with Jack and say and tell exactly what I want you to do. And have it mean something, say I don't want you thinking, I want you to see the ball. I want you to hit the ball. I'm going to live with the strikeouts. I understand you're going to swing and miss. That's okay. But I want my 25 homers. You can hit 230. I'll live with it. I'll platoon you. I'll get you out of left on left. Give me a decent outfield. Don't take too many chances. Keep the ball in front of you. Let's make this work for both of us. That's not that far away, but where they're at with him, I don't understand it.
Yeah, interested to see how that plays out. Jason, I got some questions about the rotation. Well, really just one question about the rotation for you.
We can talk about a lot of it.
Carmen, Mlodzinski, Bailey, Falter at the back end here. They're not getting nuked. I think they're showing some level of consistency, but the ERAs are still bad. They're not getting length out of those guys. Obviously, you're going to have fans clamoring for these guys in the minors, these top prospects. Obviously, you already have Thomas Harrington, who you've seen this season. How do you read those two guys through these first few weeks and where we go from here with them?
Well, they're different cases to me. Bailey has done it. I would probably ride it out longer with Bailey Falter. The Carmen issue, I would be, and this is something that like you need to be a manager and a player and in that room to give an accurate gauge on it, because there's nuance there that I just can't feel. I'd really love to see him as a reliever. I understand he wants to be a starter. He wants to have more opportunity. And if you feel like you're going to lose the kid, maybe you ride this out and give him a chance. That being said, there's nothing that indicates it should happen up here. Like, I might give Carmen a choice. I might say, look, you can be a major league reliever on my team, or you can be a minor league starter in our organization. Which do you choose? Because right now you're not cutting it as a major league starter, because you really can't go through the order. You definitely can't go through a third time. And a lot of times the second time's giving you problems. Now, the first time through, you're really good. And if Carmen Mlodzinski was a reliever, I'd feel a heck of a lot better about their bullpen length. And really, anytime he's brought in, first time through the order, he's awful difficult to pick up. So if he wanted to do that with his career, I'd be completely in favor of it. He'd be in my bullpen. I'd make whatever corresponding roster move I had to. If he was adamant about continuing to start, I might take another look at Thomas Harrington. Bubba Chandler, I feel like, isn't too far off at this point. He's been pitching really well. Ashcraft had a little bit of a bumpy one his last time out. Mike Burrows is somebody hasn't had the greatest start to the season, but you're going to see him before too long. Anyway, I'd ride it out a little bit longer with Bailey Falter, because I think there is a track record of him being a starter. Lefty, southpaw, the soft tossers sometimes take a little bit longer. I'm not too concerned with it. Just Mlodzinski is a different case.
Yeah, I think that especially with Mlodzinski, it was so unexpected, I think, for a lot of people, that you wonder how long they can have patience. And it gets back to the longevity of this front office. They need wins. How long can you keep running a guy out there who can't get through the order a second and third time? Yeah. So it's I think that's all relevant to the conversation as well. We'll keep watching how it plays out. Jason, I'm looking forward to next week. You and I will be getting into our NFL draft live stream down at Mike's Beer Bar. So lots more football talk, but we'll also keep an eye on the Pirates as well. So if you enjoyed this video, please pop a like on it. Help us out in the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe to our Pirates channel so you keep getting all the commentary there. And we will talk to you again next week.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.